Society in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the Clio Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble, based in Denver, Colorado. I'm Cayenne Harris, Vice President of Education and Community Engagement for UMS. Over the past year, we were thrilled to work with Clio Parker Robinson and her company through our Digital Artist Residency program to develop this unique look into how a new dance piece is created. Filmmaker Alan Dominguez and his team were able to capture footage in Mexico and in the US as choreographer Amalia Viviana Basanta Hernandez worked with the Clio Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble to create a new work, The Four Journeys. The work explores Mexico's four root cultures, Indigenous, Spanish, Asian, and African, in a multimedia production embracing elements of each heritage. Originally intended to be premiered in 2020 as part of the company's 50th anniversary celebration, progress quickly halted when COVID-19 began. As so many of us experienced over the past year, travel and familiar ways of working quickly became extremely difficult, if not impossible. For the Clio Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble, technology helped to bridge the divide and creativity flourished in new ways. For UMS, this documentary offers the chance to share with our audiences some of the behind-the-scenes conversations and experiences that are rarely visible to audiences. The production of this film and all of the work that Clio did with students, audiences, and the public in Michigan and beyond this past year would not have been possible without generous support. Please take a moment at the end of the film to acknowledge the University of Michigan Credit Union's Arts Adventures Program, Lynn and Doug Song, and the many others who support made this collaboration possible. Without further ado, please enjoy this screening of The Making of the Four Journeys.
Woo! Bravo!
We have to decide if we want to tell a story. Sometimes I might have a feeling, and it's always very challenging. It's a moment of discovery, because you go in and you start working with one idea, and then you start working with the dancers, and they bring something more to you. And then, so the next day, no matter where you think you plotted this out, it begins to have its own plot. And you go back and you say, dancers, this is where I was yesterday, but let me tell you what I found. And you brought it to me.
Like most creation, can start in chaos, and then it becomes very clear as to what it'll be. And to see it be put together is magic.
There's a lot of discovery in it. And spiritually, it gets deeper the more you're working with it. You're calling upon, I guess, the muses. You call upon everything. It comes to you. It starts coming to you and flooding you with all of this wonderful ideas and images.
La danza es algo que va más allá del lenguaje verbal. Para mí la danza es una forma de expresar lo que a veces uno trae adentro que no sabe decir con palabras.
We had worked in Mexico City and worked right there with Viviana, Basanta, and her wonderful dancers. We had toured a couple of cities, Acapulco, a number of cities, so that they could get a sense of Mexico, because some of them had never been to Mexico, they had never performed there.
Grandes bailarines, gente hermosa, la cual trabajar con ellos es inspirador y te ayuda a poder desarrollar tu proceso.
So Viviana really comes from a great tradition of this rich national company.
La danza no fue algo que yo decidí de grande. Yo nací, desde el día que nací, mi mamá ya tenía la compañía de baile folclórico de México.
So when I met with her in Mexico a number of years ago, and she began to tell me that her mother, Amaya Hernandez, knew Catherine Dunham and Alvin Ailey. And I said, and they were my inspiration.
Four Journeys, que es un trabajo que por mi parte, o sea, queremos un viaje prehispánico, un viaje africano, un viaje de Asia, que es de lo que a veces hablamos poco aquí, esa nuestra cuarta raíz.
This journey of the four journeys of the African diaspora, the Asian diaspora, the European, the Spanish, the indigenous, have always been connected, but somehow in our education they've been disconnected. So I think this piece is really wonderful to bring that kind of more of a fluid journey of all of our cultures and how we've influenced each other. I worried so much that I don't really speak Spanish. My father spoke Spanish, but he had all the really words that nobody should use. But we really understand through the movement how to communicate. And we knew we were destined to work together. We were on stage, the very last concert, and the governor was here. A lot of our women politicians were here, and mostly black politicians, and so I think the community had not seen this number of women of color in our legislature, and that was a powerful night. And they were calling the governor to come right to the door because you've got to pay attention to what's going on. And so it was about COVID. Everything had to shut down the next morning. And it was really a mind-blowing kind of moment.
During COVID, just still having the opportunity to dance from home, it wasn't great. It definitely was not ideal. But some people weren't even doing that. Like, I mean, it was quite sad. I know dancers, beautiful dancers, who literally retired. I did not plan on coming to Denver. I got a chance to talk to Clio, and I got a chance to meet some of the dancers and experience some of the culture, and I immediately fell in love, and I've just been here ever since. My second job is in the service industry, and so I have not been there in a year. After COVID hit, I found out that I was pregnant, so I just had a baby. She just turned 6 months. I really considered it a lifeline. Like, I depended on it. I needed to be able to continue to move, even if it wasn't as often as normal. I danced up until I gave birth.
Because we were able to move to a virtual platform, that we were able to connect not only probably in a deeper way with our communities here in Denver, but we started to reach outside of Colorado. We did a 6-month residency with our partner in Bogota, Colombia. We did a 2-week residency with our partners in South India.
Sometimes it just it brings people to like their knees at how hard we still worked during COVID. They're like, I cannot believe that you all continue to reach out into the community and continue like as much as possible.
There's so many different dance forms, and they all take discipline, and they take a craftsmanship if you decide that this is something that you'll do for your life. Because there's choreography in the studio, and there's a lot of choreography out of the studio. You have to make way sometimes when you don't see a way.
We're good. I see it, got it, we're ready. Yeah. Our very first meeting of Four Journeys in 2021. We're in
We originally started this process right before COVID hit, so we were in Oklahoma rehearsing with Viviana's assistants. It was great that we had a solid foundation of what the movement and what the piece was.
We started to relearn it,
Rafa.
so they're going to get it in their bodies, then we'll take a videotape at the end of rehearsal, and then we can send it so you know what they have.
I'm working with our musicians that are trying to do a composition with contemporary Asian, African, and Mexican kind of different drums to get more the idea of the dynamics. Yo quise irlo recreando de una manera contemporánea y en elementos como el abanico, los tambores africanos, los tambores asiáticos, los instrumentos prehispánicos.
I mean, as a kid, it was a big playground for me. I never wanted to go home. I didn't mind that rehearsals went to 10, 11, or 12, and here I am 5 years old running all over the place. I mean, it's where I wanted to be. It was electric, really. Yeah, here's a picture of my mom at the Soul Ballroom for our 30th anniversary.
Wow.
And I think now this is our 50th anniversary. And here is an invitation from President and Mrs. Clinton. She was a recipient of the National Medal of the Arts. But I remember going in DC and being a part of that. Our organization was founded in 1970, so we emerged out of the civil rights movement and the black arts movement of the 60s. And those movements, I think, really helped set the stage and color the tone of the philosophy for the organization.
For us to improve our future, we have to understand our history and improve our present. One of the reasons that I wanted to be in this company is because of her history.
Entonces, mi primer acercamiento con ella y de verla llena de vida y todo lo que ella representa para la comunidad, no sé, como artista, como luchadora, como una mujer incansable, lo contagia a uno de alegría, de energía y de inspiración.
I actually come from a family of dancers, so my mother and my father both danced, as well as both grandparents on both sides. So when I was really young, my father actually danced with Clio and drummed for her. It's of this princess who was stolen when she was young, and she was kidnapped, taken, and she was sold to somebody that will be her husband. And you know, she's very almost like defiant. You know, she didn't want to be with the husband, so she winds up turning her life over to God, becoming like a nun, and starts, you know, helping people in the community where she, you know, winds up living her life. I go back and I think about my ancestors who were stolen from Africa. So that, yeah, that's what I think about when I'm performing this.
Last time you said you wanted a woman and a man. So like I didn't know. It was very interesting rehearsing on Zoom because we had to play with the bandwidth, you know, everyone's internet's different, hearing the music. Okay, just a second, we need to work it out, so give me 2 seconds. Did you see Viviana? Yes. That I have to put this on my resume, I guess, as Zoom dance translator now. But I was actually surprised myself in how I was able to really use my listening skills and really hear what she was saying and what she wanted as far as creating new formations and the intention and the dancers learning the steps. Martenza's gonna do it from the corner real fast to make sure this is the right idea, and then we can put it together with the mid. Okay. Okay, darling. And the full thrust. Maybe you jump. You go to your knees. Stop.
Now he's going about the public art because he's supposed to be the one that decide to force them to get back.
Just making sure I'm clear that this man who is telling to stop is not the duet man. The duet, that's a different man. Okay. Cool. Okay. And so we just really got to dive deeper into the intention behind the pieces that we were working on at the time. So that was cool to slow down. I'm never going to take for granted dancing on Marley or dancing with my fellow dancers ever again. I knew I would have a studio. I knew it. That's just, you know, that's just what we have. And it's like, no, like that can be taken away from you. Your fellow dancers, it can disappear. So yeah, that was deep.
In the midst of everything else, Clio is being asked to speak and do all kinds of conversations and seminars and that kind of thing. So I'm working on some questions. She and I will work on this next week, working on bullet points on each of these questions, so when she was interviewed, she prepared.
I don't know that, am I muted, honey? Let me see, the jacket, oh, there we are. Lord have mercy, there it is. What's really powerful right now is the movement, because tomorrow we will also use our company to go out on as people are, we're getting them to vote. And we're doing like seconds of just being out on the street, stop the car, move, vote. The dance is the march. That's the dance. The dance is the power that comes with you uniting with someone else who believes in what we believe in, which has changed this country right now.
I have been technical director to Clio Parker Robinson for 21 years. Which in real life, I think it's 42 seasons. I think that's the way it goes. Even though it was only going into March, we had already had well over 16 shows. So it was pretty intense. So we have struck all the lighting instruments. We just took up floor, we're finished taking up all the Marley. And the final reason why we did this whole thing is to rebuild the stage that can last another 50 years.
My father built the stage, but when he built it, the love that my father built it with, I never knew if we could get that back. But he would whistle, and there was so much joy. He'd say, get it together, y'all. Come on, we have to do it with rhythm. And it was almost like a dance. And he used creating work as a way of creating community and family.
Raquel can see the changes that I made with all this part, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Entran los hombres con un brinco de artes marciales. Esa parte de que llegan como, ya ves que los de artes marciales son muy partos de chu, llegan a les cambié algunas cosas más torso, un poquito más de torso con el abanico y un like to have something in between to and then go down and then go up. O sea, esta sí le puse, pero para que tuviera como una bajada hacia adelante, que no fuera de subir a bajar, sino que quisiera, como si ella quisiera liberarse y se va para adelante.
Dancers here are used to doing video studies, so for me it was just a live video study. The one difficult thing that I did run into, and me and Clio had a conversation about, was the feeling and the emotion that you connect with dancers on a stage and in rehearsal that you can't do on Zoom. And she was trying to get us to do that, and it was like, there's no way to do it on a little square and nobody's around my little living room.
Por otro lado, la cuestión del propio desarrollo ha sido complicado para muchos artistas, pero lo que nos hemos dado cuenta que lo que une y nos ha unido a todos, ¿no? Era el arte.
Very good. It's only details that I will want to change when I arrive, only to make at the same time some parts, but we can keep going. So, okay.
This is the original. That's the original right there. You missed the applause. I miss people even saying it was too hot in here.
Okay, happy hour over my 20th anniversary. But this church was hurt by the Klan. So that's why it was really powerful. That the spirit is right.
I feel like art in itself makes revolutions happen. I feel that it's a place where people can absorb maybe what they don't want to talk about. And there are many subject matters over this last year that have been repeated because they have not been wrung out and moved forward. They've been kind of just in this progression of understanding, but not necessarily in the progression of change. So the commitment and the dedication to the art form allows for a much broader sense of being, meaning you can handle more because you're in love with what you do. And so therefore you do things that maybe other people would not do. We are athletes, we are artists, and we are part of an incredible, exquisite group of people who believe.
You gonna stop giving me anxiety and get back on the sheet?
So, if you feel like you know where you're at, or if you feel like you're okay without where you're at, but if you know, talking, sneezing, calling out, you can't breathe, go so good.
Yes.
I'll get done.
No, you love her. You love her. Oh, wow. In Mexico, we still dance with you can see you're breathing.
I remember when I first ran that trio into the persecution.
was nothing but jumps with that mask, trying to inhale, go up, go down, low to the ground, pick her up, put her back down. A lot easier breathing without a mask, thank God.
Also, I just think that, you know, a lot of what we do is dance theater and story ballet and storytelling, and so like, you know, the face and the emotions have a lot to do with that, and I know that we convey with our eyes, but now that the mask is off, you can A, breathe, like my other nation said, but also B, like you can see the pain, the joy, whatever emotion is being emoted in that time.
And how we're going to put all those things together to make the same language as we're moving and what we are seeing and what we are feeling. That kind of dance. Okay. It's like to see variation of the crop.
Empieza todavía porque apenas estamos llegando a los detalles finales, así como pero bueno.
5, 6, 7, and a 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7.
Porque nosotros somos un país vivo, no es un país del recuerdo.
I think all artists are historians. The only way you know where you move forward is to know your past and whose shoulders we're standing on.
All of these creative people and all of this creative energy, and to be in that process, there's really nothing like it.
The give and take and the feeling of someone's energy in the space. Dance, you have to forgive yourself.
The moment that we're in is the most important moment ever. Not what happened yesterday, not what will happen tomorrow, but what we do right this minute.